Mac, a little tardy to the party. I do believe this surfaced years ago, but it's new to me, so why not bring it up on the podcast?
Okay.
At Vegas Issues on, at the time, Twitter, I believe. Now it's called X. Breaking news dump. But they have the betting odds from the Mirage from 1995, the summer of 95. What was big that summer? Baseball? No. Who shot Mr. Burns on The Simpsons? And they have the suspects and they have the odds up there. And I feel like if I was old enough to bet at the time, if I had this on my app on my phone, I would have lost tons and tons of money.
Yeah, agree to agree there. Now, I'm trying to recall if I remember this live or if I just remember it on the reruns, because I do remember this being a substantial episode and the whole thing, because it ends a season, right? And we don't find out to the next season.
Correct.
Yeah, so I think I do remember this live. We were 6 maybe at the time, or I just remember it being so huge and it was a lot of talk and there it's literally odds on the Mirage here. So what an episode. All-time great episode. All-time great television episode.
I remember the summer of 95, like at the age of 6, asking people what they thought, who they thought shot Mr. Burns, just assuming that everyone watched The Simpsons. And most people did, but a lot of people were just like, what are you talking about?
I was probably busy smashing my ankle with a Skip It back in 95. I think it was pre-Razor Scooter. But yeah, big Skip It summer back in 95.
So on the board, Homer was at 2-1, Waylon Smithers 5-2, Krusty the Clown 3-1, Bart 4-1. Someone that jumps out to me, a little bit of juice, and I feel like I would have put money on this one, is Grandpa Abe Simpson at 10-1. Because he's enough of a well-known character, but he's someone like, say if he did do it, you could write him off.
Dude, I'm stunned that Maggie's even an option down there at 70-1. Credit to them for even putting her on there. I mean, the top two is the two that most people thought it was.
I mean, Waylon made the most sense. I don't think Homer could have done it. It's like story-wise, Homer shooting his boss or Homer shooting someone in general is a bad way to go for your main character.
Yes, but also disgruntled worker. Like you could have said, he's such an idiot. He could have been an accident in the way it ended up being an accident. So, Barney's a drunk. That's another option. Bart's
I'll also
too
say
young.
that at 7-1, Hans Moleman being on the board might have been there to throw people off.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I do think they got the top two though. I would have bet on Homer or Waylon if I was a betting man.
At 2-1, you wouldn't have bet on Homer. Not enough juice.
That's not bad
you like
though.
That squeeze. You
That's
like
still
that
plus
squeeze.
200.
You wouldn't have bet $100 on Homer shooting Mr. Burns.
No.
Jesus, man.
Let's say you get $100 to bet.
Yes.
I'm probably putting like 50 on Homer, maybe 25 on Smithers, and then like $5 bets elsewhere.
I would have sprinkled, I think, the most on Grandpa. I think that makes the most sense to me.
Okay. All right.
Maybe Principal Skinner, too.
Skinner's a real bastard. Yep. Sideshow Mel, you never know. Wild card.
Okay. That's a good start for us.
One goo, three, yeah! Goo. Jaws 3. Goo. King of Queens. Goo. Meryl Streep. Entertainment.
I'm Goo.
And I'm Mac.
And we are the Mac and Goo program. We are here to talk about The Boys.
We are here.
World. Let's talk more about Boy Meets World.
We are here today to talk about father issues, everlasting father issues that play up in this show every single episode in all 4 seasons. Today, it's The Boys season 4. Goo, this is a Prime Video show, and I'm trying to think if there was a show before this that really legitimized Prime. If there was one, it's not coming to mind, but season 1 of The Boys was 2019, and I think that was the first time I was like, oh, need Prime for sure.
Maybe for us.
Yeah, I'm sure there was before then, but maybe not. I don't know. Handmaid's Tale, is that on Prime?
That was Hulu.
Okay, well, there you go. That went out the window. This is a TVMA action, comedy, and crime show, but really it's a comic book show. 8 episodes, approximately an hour each, so we get close to 8 hours of content here, and it's been pretty much like that 4 seasons strong. So we are roughly 32 hours into this story, give or take. Might be a little less than that with credits and whatnot. We're deep in. We got 1 season left. That's been announced. On Roddy T's Goo, 93% from the critics, 76% from the audience. Now you might be like, oh, that audience score is a little low. Actually 1% higher than season 3. What do you think about that?
I think season 3, if we're going to talk about it, might be their best season.
Like, to me, season 3 was easily the best season. Now,
like
the first 2 were very good.
I would take season 1 probably because I like new things, and at the time it was new, it was fresh. And by season 3, I think it got better. But if I'm going to take 1, it would be 1.
Okay. Well, your dog scores say otherwise. I did a little research.
Can you? Yeah. What did you have for the research here?
Well, we'll get to that in a few.
Okay.
So season 1, Roddy T is 85%, 91%. Season 2, 97%, 84%. Season 3, 98%, 75%. So the audience is liking it less and less. I bet it's the audience that they're constantly making fun of that is liking it less and less.
I think just in general, the audience is also a little bit sick of all the political stuff.
Yeah, it just, to me, because it is set in a world where they are trying to pretend what would happen if Soups were in a real world, I still think it's very accurate as to what would happen.
Look, I still really enjoy it, but I will say that as we've gone further on, it has gotten more on the nose.
Fair enough. Goo, on Metacritic, a 76. That compares to season 1 of 74, season 2 an 80. So the critics are liking season 2 the most. Season 3 is 77, but roughly all in the same tier. Yeah. And I would agree with that. I think this season may be the lowest of the 4, but I do agree they're all roughly in the same tier, give or take. This show is created by Eric Kripke, who you would have known prior to this for Supernatural. He was the creator of Supernatural. Did, I think, all fucking 376 episodes of that, whatever it is. And he's also the creator on Gen V, the show that we saw between season 3 and season 4 of The Boys. And it is important to note that Gen V is essentially season 3.5 of The Boys, because a lot of the plot that happens there carries into this season.
And season 2 of Gen V will come out between seasons 4 and 5 of here. And also they're going to deal with the ramifications of what happened in season 4 in that show.
Yep. So if you haven't seen Gen V, you really should go watch that right now. And of course, Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg are executive producers on this show. I think they're actually credited as creators on Gen V. And this whole series is based on the comics by Garth Ennis, who's a pretty popular writer. I don't know if this is the one that made him popular or not, but pretty popular. Synopsis, pretty simple here, Goo. A group of vigilantes set out to take down corrupt superheroes who abuse their superpowers. I have a bone to pick just in general, and we've talked about it a little bit before.
Pick that bone.
These series don't come up with new synopses for each season.
No, you get one and that's it, baby. We're not changing it. We're not changing it.
That's annoying. Give me a little, kick it up a little bit.
Zach and his friends hang out in Miss Bliss's class.
All right, bear with me here. This show stars Karl Urban as Billy Butcher. Oi!
Jack, give me back, huh?
Jack Quaid as Hughie Campbell. Antony Starr as Homelander. Erin Moriarty as Annie January, a.k.a. Starlight. She's more Annie this season than anything. Jesse T. Usher as A-Train. Laz Alonso as Mother's Milk. Chase Crawford as The Deep. Tomer Capone as Frenchie. Karen Fukuhara as Kimiko. Nathan Mitchell as Black Noir. We actually see his face in this season, which is fun. Colby Minifie as Ashley Barrett, maybe the most underrated character on the show. Cameron Crovetti as Ryan, a more expanded role in this season. Claudia Dumet as Victoria Newman. That is Hughie Campbell's real-life girlfriend. I just found that a couple of weeks ago.
Jack Quaid's real-life girlfriend. It's not Hughie's real-life girlfriend.
Oh, right. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, flip-flopped them. Jim Beaver as President Robert Singer. Good, we get a few returning characters here. Chantel Van Satin as Becker Butcher.
Now, say it right.
What did I say? She is essentially Hughie's good conscience.
No, Butcher. So,
oh fuck!
She's the angel on Butchie's shoulder.
Yeah.
Not Butcher's shoulder.
And the devil we'll get to in a second. Yeah. Simon Pegg pops back up as Hughie's father. Just Hugh, regular Hugh, no E. Hugh Campbell. Giancarlo Esposito pops back up as Stan Edgar here.
A little bit of a spoiler, but you've probably seen him.
Whatever. He's in one episode.
Yeah.
Presumably, he'll be playing a part in season 5. And then, we get some new additions here. Some played major roles, some played minor roles. Susan Hayward as Sister Sage. I thought she was fantastic. Really good addition.
Good. Yeah.
Valerie Curry as Firecracker. Probably a less meaningful character, but she did a great job. Also, super into her look. Jeffrey Dean Morgan as Joe Kessler. This is Butcher's devil on his shoulder, and we'll talk about some of how that plays into it in a bit. I guess maybe that's a spoiler. Maybe scrap that.
Okay.
Yeah, right?
I'll put some bleeps on that.
Yeah, Jeffrey Dean Morgan plays Joe Kessler. Rosemary DeWitt as Daphne Campbell. That's Hughie's mother. Dan Musso as Web Weaver. They've been teasing Web Weaver for a couple seasons. He pops up finally. My favorite cameo.
Was the payoff on Web Weaver good enough?
One good scene, probably not. No, probably not.
No.
Will Ferrell cameos in this in a couple episodes as Coach Brink in a fictional A-Train movie. Killed me the couple times he popped up. And then, we get 3 characters from Gen V here who we hadn't seen before in The Boys. That's Derek Wilson as Tech Knight, who is essentially this universe's retired Batman. Maddie Phillips is Kate Dunlap, who has powers of mental manipulation.
Yeah.
She touches you, she can make you do what she wants. And then Asa German as Sam Reardon. He essentially is like invulnerable and super strong. Kind of reminds me a bit of Black Noir, if you're looking for a comparison there.
Right, but they don't touch upon any of his like mental stuff in this, though, right?
No. Kate and Sam are just afterthoughts kind of in this season. I wish they played a bigger role. I wish they played a bigger role in what we saw.
Yeah. So, Mac, just on the whole, before we get into our nonagon or our decagon, whatever we have here, what did you think of this season?
So, I thought this season was good. But again, weighing it up against the bar that The Boys has set, which to me is the best show on television, I think it fell short of expectations. However, and I did go back and listen to a bit of our seasons 1, 2, and 3 episodes just to kind of refresh our what we were saying about it.
How was I on the show? How would you grade me?
You were great, Goo. You were great.
Oh,
great
shit,
co-host.
man. Thank you.
I sort of forgot that seasons 1 and 2 essentially just set up what happened in season 3. And I think that's why season 3 was so great. The end of season 2 was a bit of a letdown. And we talked about that. We voiced that. Season 1, of course, was, just getting the ball out in the fairway and playing it from there.
Yeah,
season
but the finale on season 1 was great, though.
Yes, for sure. The bookends of season 1 was great. The in-betweens on season 2 were great. Season 3 was just great as a whole. Although my biggest gripe with season 3 was that really nothing of consequence happens at the end. As great as that final episode was, everyone's still alive. Your biggest gripe was basically how topical it was getting. So I understand why you're a little more probably annoyed with season 4 than with that stuff.
I'm not even annoyed. I'm just like, okay, I see this stuff, and now we're just making similar jokes to what we're already getting everywhere else. Because every comedy show, every poly-charged comedy show tells the same jokes over and over again.
Yeah, that's a fair criticism. My biggest gripe with this season, and I'll expound upon this a bit when we talk dog scores, is going into this season, Homelander had won every season. The Boys really hadn't won anything, put small dents into them here and there. And so we know essentially coming into this season, there's 2 seasons left. Well, Homelander's probably not going to lose this season either, right? Because ultimately that's the end game. And so you kind of know what's going to happen at the end of this season. And so that in mind is a little frustrating because the season drags a little bit and we don't get the same punches or the punch-ups that we do in the prior couple seasons. And on top of that, it sort of got telegraphed by the end of season 3, at least in my mind, you didn't agree, at least back then, that Ryan is ultimately Homelander's end game here. And so again, knowing that, you knew very early on in season 4 that they're probably just kicking the can down the road. And I kind of feel that's like exactly what happened.
So I think the reason why I come away from season 4 lower than most seasons, keep in mind right now when we're both going to say this, The Boys is better than most things on television.
Yeah, easily.
I think the issue that I have is that this felt more like a half a season. Like we never got that conclusion to the end where like the end of season 1 and the end of season 3 have those amazing finales and you come away so satisfied.
Yeah.
This one, you don't get that. And even the cliffhanger with it isn't that great of a cliffhanger.
I totally agree. I do think that if season 4 is as great as it can be, we will probably ignore this going in like 2 years, right? We'll be like, okay, it's season 5. Yeah. We'll probably be like, you know what? It's set up and everything in season 5. It was necessary. But currently we can't put all that much faith into how it's going to end. And so we have to criticize it for that.
Also, and I think you just might have said this, I wasn't paying attention to you, but the pacing was definitely off this season where like even at the beginning, it felt like it was going a bit fast. And then at the midway point, it just kind of stopped and then slogged its way through the last couple episodes. But then the finale felt rushed.
It was a little clunky, and I ultimately felt like we wasted a lot of time. Now, they're good characters, and I know they are meaningful to this show. I just do not care about Frenchie's past, and I just do not care about Kimiko's past. And we spent like 2 full episodes on those two. And we're so deep into this, again, 32 hours into this story. I felt like if you were going to do that, give us that last season, 2 seasons ago. I just didn't want it in this season.
And you just mentioned those 2 characters. Even last season, we got that great dance scene between them. Like in the past seasons, we've gotten big standout scenes. I'm not sure if this one gave us that big pants tent scene.
No, we got some borderlines, but there's not the one where you're like gonna go rewatch it on YouTube type of thing.
But also like the standout scenes from this season, like you might think it's like the stuff from episode 2 with like them fighting the big or like the naked guy, like the bunch of naked guys, but you're not going to go back and watch the naked guy scene a bunch. I mean, you will, but
yeah,
I mean, like,
yeah. No, it definitely lacked that major pants tent. But some of it though, admittedly, is because we're so deep into crazy shit that's happened on this show. We're not as shocked by what happens, you know?
I don't think I was shocked by anything, and maybe something in the finale, but then I'm like, or is this something else? Oh, it's just this.
Yeah, and that's why like season 1, maybe on a rewatch, we would like this more than season 1, but at the time it was all brand new to us and it was more shocking. And so that's why season 1 is a little above
on this show will ever touch Popclaw.
I think that was season 2, no?
Or that was season 1.
Okay. Yeah, that was pretty amazing.
Yeah, that was the best thing maybe I've ever seen.
Yeah, pretty incredible.
And then you start to fear for yourself. You're like, what if that happens to me?
Oh, wait, this is realistic.
But then you say, if it happens to me, that's not a bad way to go out. Shall we do our however many things we have?
I think we got a nonagon today.
Nonagon right now. Fun factor, following Homelander through his ups and downs, twists and turns is my favorite stuff on TV. And I think it was episode 5 or episode 6 where we had him going back to his old stomping grounds. And that one episode with him was just like, I'm not sure if it's scarier when it's him unhinged or it's him calculated, because when he's calculated, he's a fucking psychopath.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you here, where a predominant amount of the fun, or the fun predominantly comes from Homelander doing crazy shit. That's what most of the fun, especially in this season, came from. I will say, I think a lot of Ashley's scenes are fun.
Okay.
She plays like a really fun character, and the conversations she has are pretty funny. And I actually feel like A-Train kind of making a turn this season, that there was some fun shit going on in there as well. Oh, you know what? Actually,
what?
The funnest addition that we hadn't seen before this year was Black Noir's character, the actor hired to play Black Noir, except he's actually a suit.
Yeah.
But him like talking through trying to figure out who his character should be and who his character is was very funny.
It's like, I know how to fly. Oh, is that a spoiler?
No,
I'll bleep that one out too. I'll just bleep out a bunch of us acting like idiots. Saddest factor, we need season 5 because they knew that this was going to lead into season 5. I'm not sure how satisfied I was with this season.
Yeah, I would say by the end, I don't think I was just let down, because again, I sort of expected the ending we were going to get.
Mhm.
or not exactly what happened, but I expected the can being kicked. Um, I do think this lacked satisfactor for sure.
Yeah, because it's just the stuff that they thought was like, "Oh, this will get a rise out of the audience."
Yeah,
It just didn't.
didn't quite hit. Yeah.
It just didn't do it. Bore-ometer, I definitely felt some bore this season, and I definitely think it's more than prior seasons.
Yeah, again, I'll point out the Kimiko Frenchie stuff is just that's boring to me. I'm not invested in it at all. I'm just not. I'm sorry.
Right, but I also love her action scenes.
Yep, for sure. The emotional scenes from her past and both with Frenchie just don't hit for me.
Mhm. Aquator. Yes, it's still better than Aquaman and still better than most things on television.
Yes. Yep. 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 Yep.
We are not putting this show down. We do not hate this show. We do not dislike this show. We like it a lot.
Totally agree.
Halloween. Will this wane over time for us? We need season 5 to decide that.
Yeah, it could go either way. In that, if season 5 doesn't stick the landing, this will look worse. If it does, this will look better. It all depends on season 5.
When life gives you Plemons, you make Plemonade. And Mac, I need to ask you, who made Plemonade on this show, and are we allowed to give it to Antony Starr?
Yeah, I think so because
Is it too obvious?
it's obvious, but also he's not really the main character. Like it's still Hughie, you know.
Well, it's
Uh,
definitely shifted more towards him
it
being the
has
main
come,
character.
yeah, it has
Yeah.
come. It's sort of a three-way right now between Butcher, Hughie, and Homelander. Right,
Mhm.
those seem like the three main players. And there's a little bit of a tug of war going on for the screen time. But like other than that, I don't like the Deep has some funny scenes, and he's Trace Crawford is very good. I don't know if he steals scenes though. Like the Black Noir maybe stole a scene or two here.
Yeah.
Like he was very funny. Um, like the new additions, I don't know if you would give them like maybe Sage. Sage was pretty great, but I think Antony Starr's Homelander is just so overwhelmingly good and fun. You have to say him.
Because also, he was the only character that when he was on the screen, I made sure that I was paying attention.
For sure. For sure.
Max Credit Union. You gonna give credit to those other people you just mentioned?
Yeah, you want to flip-flop these? Doesn't matter to me. What I just said there maybe applies to here as well.
Pants Tent City. Excite Bike Mania. What got you going on this show? And like I said, I did like the naked fight scene and see an episode 2 because that was at least something a little bit different. I don't think any of the other fight scenes really stand out to me though on this season here.
Yeah, the souped up farm animals was like okay.
Okay, that at least pops into my brain.
Yeah, yeah. The major thing that happens in the finale was surprising, but was it a pants tent really? I
And
don't
we'll
even know
talk
if I
about that
liked
in
it.
1 second with the
Yeah.
spoilers. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think it does lack a bona fide standout.
For those of you tardy to the Mac and Goo party, we rate everything on a 40 hot dog rating system. Mac, I got some pros and cons here for you. The biggest pro, simple enough, is Homelander. And like I just said, whether he's calculated, whether he's unhinged, I think the calculated stuff where it's the jaw. Like when he's just sitting back and thinking and the jaw starts to move, you're like, something good's about to happen here.
Yeah.
Butcher is still great. I love Kimiko. Hughie, I thought, was very good in this season. The stuff with his dad, that was a great episode. You know what? I didn't cry in that episode, though. So did it do something wrong?
I don't love Simon Pegg in that role anyways, so.
No, but you know that father-son stuff always gets to me.
Yeah, true. Very true.
No, I thought it was a good episode. It didn't pull any tears. It didn't.
It did. I will say by the end of it, the emotions were high, but it wasn't. They didn't establish Simon Pegg enough for anyone to really, cry in that moment.
I do like how with the main characters of the show, Homelander, Butcher, Starlight, and then, looking at the politics of it all, they give you the dual sides to each character and each story and how each side has a different story to it. But at the end, they reveal that everyone and everything just sucks. Yet everyone thinks that what they've gone through, they did the right thing.
Everyone's a bad guy. Everyone's selfish.
But everyone thinks they're the good guy in their own story.
For sure.
And I do like how they do get to that with everything on the show.
Mm-hmm.
And let's see if they keep going with that season 5 or if that's going to be cut off now as like a season 4 thing, because it does seem like they might have moved past that. You got a couple guffaws, but not as many as in the past. Yeah. Oh. Goose Cons. This felt sloggy at points, but it also felt rushed at other points. And also at other times, it felt like it was just running in place. It was a boat with one oar, like my fantasy baseball team, just going in circles, not knowing how to fix their roster.
Big treadmill factor in this season.
Yes. Also, the action, gore, and some of the characters felt a little samesies as past years. So nothing truly new with a lot of this. I got this. This is tough, but I'm going to say 32 hot dogs.
Ooh, okay. And for some context there.
Yeah. Give the people some context. Hurry up.
You had season 1 at 38, season 2 at 37, season 3 at 39. We both were close to 40 on season 3. So that's an average of 38 on the first 3, and you give this one a 32. Is that what you said?
32, and I might be too high on it because I still do love these characters, and I think that Homelander really does pull it along.
Okay, I actually feel like be a little too low.
Oh, too low. This
one. Again, this is
how I said that with a high pitched voice, and it's low.
Right. I have a tremendous issue going forward that I sort of figured was going to happen. Again, Homelander won the first 3 seasons. Spoiler, he wins this fucking season. We have one season left.
Bitch. You gave it away.
We have one season left, and we know Homelander's not going to win that. So that's a little defeating as a viewer, knowing that, all right, I know somewhat what's going to happen at the end of it. And in the midst of season 3, and by the end of season 3, I was pretty sure Ryan was going to be Homelander's undoing. And now I'm like more sure of that, you know? So the ending of this series feels a bit telegraphed, and that's without even getting into spoilers. So like with that in mind and watching this season with that in mind, I really felt like, yep, we're just kicking the can down the road, and it's hard to not feel that way. And coming off a fantastical end of season 3, but again, none of our main cast dying was also a little cheap. So we don't lose anyone there. So they kind of undercut the fantastic ending there.
Yeah.
We really needed something consequential in this season. And I think we do get it in the finale, Goon. Again, we'll talk about that in a couple minutes. But do we like that? That I don't know.
I want to throw a scenario at you in a second, but go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So ultimately, the season does feel a little lazy. It was still enjoyable for me on a week-to-week watch. The topical stuff doesn't bother me in the slightest because I do still feel like that's actually accurate. However, our main cast of characters are essentially all in the same exact spots as they were one season ago, except for maybe Ryan. Ryan's the only character that has had like a substantial move from last season to this season. So season 5 better be the best season, because otherwise
that damn kid gets a crew cut.
Otherwise, I question whether this journey would have been worth it all. But that said, I got this like a B. It's 34 hot dogs. It's still really, really enjoyable.
Yeah.
It does get hurt by weighing against its prior seasons, but still a very good show.
I would almost argue that it's helped by its prior seasons because I'm going to give it the benefit of the doubt.
Okay. I would argue hurt, because if this shit happened in season 1, you'd be more blown away by it.
Glass half full. I'm pointing at myself for those.
You're empty. I'm full.
Are you sure?
Yes, that's how that works.
Head over to social media and tell us which of the two has a nice half glass of milk. I guess we both do, actually. Hold up. But which one is full and which one is empty? But it's the same amount of milk.
Maybe you have, because you have a child. Would you try breast milk?
No.
Yeah, I probably would.
Looking at you, I believe you.
Probably would.
I believe you.
I'd give it a little sip.
That'd take down a quarter too.
Maybe that's why I have this 2 dogs higher than you.
All right, shall we spoil?
Spoilers. Okay,
so the biggest thing from this season is that in the final 5 minutes of the season, after Newman says, "I need your help, boys. Boys, can you please get me out of my sticky situation?" A super tumored butcher comes in there and venoms her in half. Now, after what we had just gotten in the previous episode where we have the folks that can change their bodies. I'm blanking on what they're called right now. The one that became Starlight. The
Yeah, that's just the
Transformers, not Transformers,
shapeshifter.
whatever it is.
Yeah,
I thought for a
shapeshifter.
second, I was like, wait, is Butcher one of these people too? Oh, wait, no. That is the super tumor that they had teased about a half an hour ago.
Yeah, that is essentially Jeffrey Dean Morgan.
Yes.
You know, that's the embodiment of that fucking serpent venom type
Yes.
thing.
And I ask you this do you think it would have been better if they saved Newman and then they opened season 5 with killing her there to show you the consequences are now real?
So, number one, I don't necessarily believe that Newman's dead. Let me get that out of the way. She has all these powers with being able to manipulate blood, and it wasn't like she was torn to shreds. She was just torn in half. So yes, first of all, that's the first death of consequence we get in the series, and I have quote unquote death. So I like that they did something, I guess, but also we were just building towards something significant with Newman in maybe another capacity, and then they just took her off the board. That's why I don't know if I believe it totally. Number two,
Yes.
I hate the way that Butcher's V powers manifested there. Last season, we saw like the laser vision, and for whatever reason, the fucking venom tentacles just didn't work for me. I didn't like it. I thought it looked kind of corny.
Well, that's because those aren't his powers. That's the cancer's powers.
Sure, whatever.
You can't decide what the cancer does.
Well, it's sort of one of the same, and he had the powers because of taking that shit last season. I also wonder why Victoria Newman can't be hurt by scalding hot laser vision, but can be ripped apart. Like that doesn't make
She was
sense.
also shot in the head in the first episode.
Yeah. So how does that make sense? I don't know if that makes sense logistically. If you're just trying to like break down, like she felt like she was invulnerable, and then she could just get ripped apart. So I don't really care for that. And then again, number two, I kind of mentioned already with the Butcher thing. Do you like that Butcher's just straight up a soup now for the rest of his short life?
He is a soup. It's the cancer that is the soup.
Well, sure, but for the rest of Butcher's life, he's going to have that ability now, right?
I don't think it's Butcher anymore. It's not Butcher. It is now Jeffrey Dean Morgan.
That character exists with that power.
Oi, I can't believe I have to talk like this now.
Oi.
Yeah.
So, number one, I don't know if I like that Newman got killed. Number two, I don't like the way that it happened. So, it's consequential unless they undo it, which I probably will actually like. I just don't know. Like that was supposed to be the big shocking moment, and it comes smack dab at the end because basically after that is a prologue.
Another one of the big shocking moments too was that you find out that Morgan is actually in Butcher's head. The only issue that we had with that is that you had predicted it and told me every day for a month that you thought it was going to be the thing. So when it was revealed on the show, I'm like, motherfuck, Mac, you piece of shit. You ruined this for me.
No, I predicted it maybe after episode 3. I had hinted it towards you. It did feel like that though. I'm sure I'm not the only one that saw that coming.
Once you said it and then told me every day for a fucking month, yes.
I did not tell you every day. I might have
every day you
twice.
text me every day, morning and evening.
So yeah, that was a big moment. Yeah, sure. I'll give you that. I actually saw it coming, but aside from that, I do like that we're still dealing with like family and fatherhood and wanting to be loved, searching for love, because all of these characters, all of our main players, whether it be any of the 7 or the boys, are certainly like still looking for their place in the world. And so there is something to that, and there's something relatable to that. However, they've been doing it for 4 seasons now, and so that part is getting a little stale too.
But this season was more about fighting with yourself and, trying to cope with who you are. Like you have Homelander, who is aging, so he has this big jar of pubes. Butcher is accepting death, and at the end, he doesn't accept it. He says, "No, I'll live until this thing kills me." And then Starlight is going through her thing the whole season. Do you like how quickly we found out that Starlight was kidnapped? Would you have liked that to have been stretched out maybe an episode or 2, and then there's a mystery to how long she had been gone, as opposed to knowing the entire time that she was just taken and then she was gone for 10 days? Because they kind of told us all that pretty quickly.
No, I was good with that. I didn't mind that at all. In fact, that was actually another pretty significant thing that happened in the season. So maybe we are a tad too low on the season. But well, it's
I
still
gave him
tied.
an 8 out of 10. I'm fine with that.
It's still tied into the main theme though, because part of fighting with yourself and accepting yourself, that's like the first step in like getting loved or accepting others or accepting
Yeah.
yourself. Like that's all tied together. Um, man, goo. Hughie Campbell just keeps getting the worst
He
of
had
the
a
worst.
rough run.
Absolute worst of the worst. First, his fucking dad dies in a really traumatizing way. And in part, it was so traumatizing because of what Hughie did.
Well, also, while his real father died, he's also dealing with his father figure dying.
Yeah. If Butcher is this older brother father figure.
Yes.
And I also think he was hoping Butcher would turn a corner, and
Mhm.
now Butcher's gone back the other way. So that's hurting. Not only is he dying, he's now not the person you thought he was, you know?
Yeah. And then he meets his idol. He meets the Tech Knight. And it turns out that he gets SA'd, Tech Knight and by Ashley.
God, yeah. I think that was they were hoping that was gonna be more fantastic than it was. Instead, it just kind of went on for too long. So
And
that
then
missed a bit.
then he thinks that he's gotten engaged. He's having this great sex with his, new fiance. Turns out that was someone posing as her, meaning that he was once again SA'd.
Yep. Hard there for sure. So
Yep.
tough
And
season for
I
Huey.
don't appreciate her not being a little bit, nicer to him about this.
Wow.
She
I
came
mean,
at him real hard.
yes, she acted as if he cheated on her, and I guess he did, but also he was sexually assaulted, and she didn't really. Well, she did. She did kind of come around
No,
a
she
bit.
came
Yeah,
around to it, but at
yeah,
first
yeah.
she was like, "You son of a
She's
bitch."
pretty upset. That's for sure. Well, he did. He did try to marry someone that wasn't her. So
He
that's
thought it was her. She had the same birthmark on the
yeah,
inside of
yeah.
her thigh.
Goo, once again, Homelander wins and maybe wins the most this season. Homelander is essentially in charge. Homelander isn't the president of the United States, but he controls the president of the United States. So basically, Homelander now has a dictatorship over the United States of
And he is
America.
also now allowed every superhero to go out there. He is in charge, and they're taking names and kicking ass.
I it's he better fucking die in the most amazing way in season
No,
5.
I
That's all
want
I'll
him to
say.
win. And then he's like,
So,
"What
you
have
know
I
what?
done?"
I'd be okay with that too, because that would be something no fucking show has ever done before. It would piss a lot of people off, but Mac and Goo would like it.
Like, if he just sat back at the end, he's the only one left alive, and he's like,
Just like in a sea of blood.
nobody's like, maybe that wasn't my best course of action, but then he sits back and goes, but I really don't care. And that's just how it ends. Dun, 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 dun,
So
dun.
speaking of maybe his potential downfall here, his son Ryan has kind of gone rogue. He's kind of eschewed both sides.
Yeah.
Pissed at Butcher. He's pissed at his father. He's got his mom on his mind constantly. He's what, 13, 14 years old. So he's going through all that shit as
Yeah.
well. Um, we believe he has the same power set as Homelander, or eventually will. We also kind of have to think that because he was born naturally with those powers, he's probably going to be baseline a little bit stronger than Homelander, whose powers are artificial.
And
That's what I
Homelander's
think is going
also
to
on his
be.
way down. We're being
Yeah,
told that by the gray pubes.
yeah, right. So exactly. So Homelander's kind of getting old, maybe losing his touch, and Ryan in maybe 2-3 years will have peaked 16, 17, 18 years old. And maybe that's how we see Homelander. It'll be a mirror battle for sure, but at least this mirror battle and it reflects a little bit of what we saw in Invincible at the end of that season. It reflects a little of this father-son struggle where the son just has to do what he has to do. And maybe that'll play better then than what we're thinking right now. I am really intrigued as to like what a full playing Ryan will be, because right now he really is just dabbling in his
Do you
powers.
think that Ryan kills his father figure, Butcher, and then his grandfather?
Um
Maybe his
so
grandfather first, Soldier Boy.
yeah, so that also that's the other big thing we'll get to in 1 second. That was the post credit or the mid credit, the Soldier Boy tease. Ryan also kills Grace Mallory here, who was somewhat a grandmother figure to him. That was fine. I did like that. Like
But
that officially broke him.
cut ties with everything that has made him human, whether it
Yeah.
be Grace or his connection to Butcher, because now that Butcher has seen him do that, and Butcher is really no longer Butcher anymore. So Ryan's just kind of off on his own.
Yeah, right. He's gone rogue. I think he's gone rogue. I think what we see here is essentially some combination of Butcher's death sparks something within Ryan that kind of gets him to fulfill his destiny or fulfill his promise to his mom, and him and Soldier Boy probably combined to beat Homelander in season 5, right? That has to be the
So you
outcome.
want mine now? Because I'm going to
Let's
throw this at you.
let's hear it.
What if Butcher does kill Homelander, but then Butcher is about to unleash
The
the
virus.
the virus, and then he kills him, and then Ryan kills Butcher?
I'm glad you brought that up. So the major event or major plot point that we grabbed from Gen V was that superhero killing virus that was introduced there, pulled over here, that is still up in the air. Presumably Butcher has it at the end
Yeah.
of this season. And he seemingly, his plan is to release it. He's going to have to mass produce it and, find out a way to release it. But seemingly that is a way to kill all the superheroes. Do you think so? There is a chance that this series ends with all the superheroes dead. That would be interesting too.
That's interesting, yeah, but that also doesn't allow them to spin off into more stuff, and I feel like they wanna spin off into more.
So the virus is just a red herring then, is essentially
Maybe.
what. Yeah, okay. That's fine too. So at the end of this whole thing, after Newman gets ripped apart, the prologue is essentially the boys on the run. They're leaving the US, except nope, they all get caught. They all get captured, except for Butcher, who drives to the whatever farm or safe house he was talking about. And Annie finally gets her powers back, blasts off. Again, we assume Butcher has this virus that he stole from Frenchie. Hughie, Kimiko, Mother's Milk, and Frenchie are all in prison.
Kimiko
Or,
was not taken. No, she's being held back, and she actually speaks.
yes, we hear Kimiko say something for the first time. I do think she gets taken there.
I don't think she does get taken. I think it's all non-soups.
Okay, maybe. You might be right about that. It's possible she does get taken, though. And I think here's a crossover we will see, or here's how Gen V comes back into things. Maybe they put them all in the same holding place that we saw at the end of
Yeah,
season
that's what
1
I
of
was
Gen V.
yeah, that's what I was thinking too.
So that would be a nice tie-in there. Ultimately, we also find out here in the prologue, Sage was behind it all. She was the mastermind. It was a little bit of a Seven type of thing where you didn't think they knew they were one step ahead, but they were. And I was okay with that. I think it redeemed Sage a little bit from where she was at the beginning of the episode.
Also, the stuff with Sage, I did think like the lobotomy stuff was really funny.
Yeah, that was good too. Yeah.
And also just something I never need to hear again is someone licking grease off their rubber gloves.
Yeah, that was fucking gross.
Disgusting.
Couple interesting things here. We see Ashley doesn't take V24, whatever it's called. She takes one of the compound Vs that was being held in Homelander's lair there. We see her kind of transforming, and then she just disappears. We don't see her in the final 20-30 minutes of the episode. Very intrigued as to how that manifests going forward.
She's going to have a big old brain, I think.
Firecracker is getting sicker because
That was
she's taking
pretty
these meds for the breast milk. It feels like they're setting something up there too, where maybe that will actually affect Homelander.
Bro, what if she comes back next season and she's got huge jugs?
Another major thing that happened during the season is A-Train is a turncoat. He's no longer a part of the Seven. He became essentially a part of the boys. He was helping the boys out. He was the leak they were talking about all season long. So that is good. It is. So maybe to your point, maybe Kimiko is kind of on her own a little bit. And you also have A-Train there and Ashley maybe working against the Seven and Homelander. So maybe that's our glimmer of hope going into season 5.
Yeah.
You also have Stan Edgar and Newman's husband, Samir, still in the wind, presumably going to work together. I don't think for Homelander, presumably against.
It'd be against, yeah.
But also against the boys since fucking Butcher just killed Newman.
Yeah.
So that's another wild card we have there. You spoke about the shapeshifter stuff.
That's what they're called.
Yeah.
I wish that shapeshifters, and I obviously there was one that was in the first 2 seasons before Homelander killed him. But I wish that they reintroduced shapeshifters into the season before episode 7 because it felt kind of rushed like, oh, there are still shapeshifters.
Yeah, it just feels cheap either way with that power. It's never
Yeah.
gonna exactly feel right. Goo, something fun here at the end. We got that girl Cindy, who I
Mhm.
think we saw at the end of season 2, escaped that holding cell, or whatever, and walking down the road. She pops up here to capture Hughie. That's when Andy jumps away. That was maybe like the coolest little Easter egg we got in this season. Again, we see Sam and Kate at the end here get Kimiko and Hughie. That does lead to more questions about Gen V and the other Guardians of Godolphin we saw, but maybe we'll see them at the very beginning of season 5 in that little prison hospital think. We also, again, get Soldier Boy here in the mid post credit, who's basically on ice. And it seems like while he may not be as powerful as Homelander, I don't think Homelander can kill Soldier Boy, because if he could have, that's probably what happened at the end of last season, right?
Well, I think Ryan really kind of threw everybody off.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. We also didn't see the Wonder Woman character.
Maeve.
Forget her, Maeve. She'll pop up again in
So
season
do
5,
you
no
think
doubt.
so I see here that you wrote possibly a civil war between
Yeah.
the Soups. Do you think that we're going to see kind of a 7-on-7? Let's
Something
try
like
and
that.
brainstorm the 7 right now.
Okay.
Soldier Boy,
Soldier Boy,
Maeve,
Maeve, Kimiko, Starlight,
Starlight,
maybe
A-Train,
Marie Moreau. That's 6.
A-Train,
Yep. A-Train, Marie Moreau, 6. And then
and then
someone.
and
Butcher,
then
maybe?
who?
Butcher?
No, Butcher's off on his own. So I think Butcher's on his own,
Okay.
Ryan's on his own.
Yeah.
And I also wouldn't be surprised if Soldier Boy was also on his own, but I wouldn't be surprised if he was also a part of a team.
Yeah,
I
well,
don't
again,
know.
we do have a couple of those Gen V kids we can grab.
Oh,
Marie's
Ashley.
definitely.
Ashley.
Yeah, Ashley, we got 2, but she also might be on her own. But you do have Marie Moreau, and then the one who could change genders.
Oh,
think-
yes. I
Yeah,
can't
so
think of their name.
that could play as well. So I think we might have like a really incredible few episodes in
I
season
think it
5.
makes sense though to do a 7-on-7. That's been like
Yeah.
the big number on the show. I also think that this show, because I would assume that they're going to try and spin this off into more things after this, but
Maybe.
cut off the timeline of these characters with season 5. So I think the 7's going to be gone. I think the boys are going to be gone.
Yeah, I think, and again, because none of the storylines they started in season 1 have really concluded, I think they kind of all come to a head in season 5, and we move past that, and whatever spinoffs go forward. I don't think we're going to see much of those same characters.
Let's get into Maxac.
And Max, that could be anything. It could be a boat and a little go with the season 4 of The Boys that has been announced here that season 5 of The Boys will be its final season. It is currently being written, has 8 episodes. Filming starts around November and will go until mid-2025 and is expected to be released in 2026.
Yep. So we got 2 years until
Got some time, but we'll have a Gen V season in between.
But it is. I'll wait 2 years for if it really is going to be the final season. I'll wait 2 years, make it
Take your
perfect.
time.
I'll be happy with it.
Take your time, and I do feel like season 4 and season 5 are going to feel like one long season.
Yeah, and you're right. The Gen V in between will help.
All right, Mac, where can the people find us?
You can find us on. Oh, a little burp. You can find us on Twitter and on Instagram at Mac and Goo Podcast. Every other platform, we're Mac & Goo. It's Mac Shift 7 Goo. That includes Facebook, Stitcher, TuneIn, Castbox, Spreaker, Google Play, iHeartRadio. We're on Spotify, but more importantly, we are on Apple Podcasts. Get on there, rate, review, subscribe, 5 stars. If you do that, we'll get you a free Mac and Goo t-shirt from the folks over at Watertown Sportswear. That is Watertown Sportswear on 34 Mount Auburn Street in Watertown. WatertownSportswear.com, expert screen printing and embroidery.
tpublic.com.
Merch.
Go buy some merch. Also, just a quick heads up here that we have our next trivia date ready to go, and it'll be August 14th at Idle Hands Craft Ales, 89 Commercial Street, Malden, Massachusetts. And the topic is Seinfeld.
Heyo, hot topic.
I won the competition. That's the line from the show, right?
Yeah, good callback.
That's a good one. So also, with this one, any Seinfeld merch that you wear, that's a point. Seinfeld tattoos, that's 3 points. Seinfeld impressions, no points, but you'll get a giggle out of me every single time.
There you go.
What's the deal with alcohol? Because we'll be at a brewery, so you can say that.
Right. Very topical.
What's the deal with your point system? It doesn't make any sense. I guess that's it for this episode. So
Yeah, I guess so.
All right, so join us at the end of this week for Deadpool and Wolverine.
Ooh.
And then more fun next week. Tuesdays or Goose Days, I abuse kangaroos.
Bye.
Tim
Burton.
Please flip the cassette over to side B to continue the adventure.